Welcome back, beautiful people, to part two of our interview with David Torstad. Thorstad. It's, if you don't want to say it in Norwegian. But anyway, let me just, in case you did not see part one, first of all, do it. Go back. David Thorstad was an American political activist who co-founded and ran a number of homosexual rights groups following the Stonewall riots in '69. And he was a former president of the New York Gay Activist Alliance. He later engaged in pedophilia and pederasty activism with the North American Man-Boy Love Association, NAMBLA, of which he was a founding member. So we are going to ask the few remaining questions here. Thank you, Erik, my love, who is on the other side. And thank you, Denise, for sticking around. And thank you, Mr. Torstad, for also sticking around.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
All right, Mr. Torstad, what was your biggest regret?
He says he's saying his biggest regret was abusing his power.
Yeah.
And I feel like his authority, the way people looked up to him and stuff, that's one of his biggest regrets, because he could instantly see how damaging that is, and that he had to really work through. And I feel like he's still working through that.
Well, did you feel remorse when you saw the suffering on the little boy, for example, a little boy? Did you feel like that
definitely.
at the time?
Oh, definitely. He says you do get to feel the remorse, because you get to feel the sadness, the pain, the suffering.
No, when you were a human.
Oh, when he was a human.
Yeah. Do you feel sorry for them? Empathy?
He says no, because he already had it in his mind. He was doing them a lot of he was doing them big favors, because he was either providing them with clothing, providing them with food, providing them with money, introducing them into to a lot of other people where they could make money and stuff like that. So
did he prostitute the boys to others? Was he like a pimp for them?
I get, you could label him as that. I don't think he saw himself as that, because he wasn't doing like a Madam Ring or something, but he was like, here, John, this young boy is this, and and then and so yeah, and then by that time the young kid would go willingly, because they've already been zapped out of any kind of life, self-worth, I guess you would say.
Did Donald Trump give any donations to NAMBLA? I don't think there was any proof that this person says, but I think they saw something on the
he's Erik is saying, he's telling me don't answer that.
Okay. Well, maybe he didn't know what it was. You never know. But maybe he didn't. Okay. Jeffrey Epstein said in the next 80 years there will be a positive change regarding a safer world for all children from adults. Can Erik please expand on this importance to allow it to happen sooner? 80 years is a long time. Oh.
Jeffrey Epstein said that?
Well, first of all, is that even true, Erik?
I don't feel that that's truth from Erik. I'm not getting that, because Erik says it is going to feel like 80 years. It's going to be a slow process, but he's telling me again, and he's told me this since 2020, how we see the world today, and even from 2020 to today, it has rapidly changed. He's telling me by 2035, the world's going to be in a different place, better. And I can see from 2020 to now how things have rapidly changed. We see it as a lot of corruption and a lot of all this other stuff going on, but all of that's always been there. It's not
exposed. Sunlight,
yes,
that's disinfected.
Yes. So is it going to take, I'm getting a no. And David says, absolutely not. It's not going to take until, take 80 years. Absolutely not, because I feel like him and others on the other side are working towards this. And
Oh, good.
by you and I having this session and someone bringing it to the table is helping to bring awareness. And when we have awareness, we're helping consciousness to expand, because now we know more. So now consciousness can expand.
So Eric, what is the solution? I mean, people who engage in sexual abuse of children, they're not mentally healthy. So do you just throw them in jail and lock away the key, throw away the key? Or I mean, because we have to understand both sides, not condone it, but understand they're sick.
Yeah.
And we have to also, of course, protect the children. So what approach should we have?
Well, Eric says right now, all that we have is to lock them up for now. And he says, because the main part to focus on is how do we keep our children safe?
Yeah.
And there's a lot that's uncovering as we speak about how deep this really is. Eric says it's kind of like an anthill. You see an anthill this high, you're going to know that that anthill goes 5 miles down in the ground.
I know. And to your neighbors and everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I've
So
heard that. It's
so
crazy.
now he says, I'm glad you heard that, because he was telling me, I was like,
Oh,
oh no,
yeah.
but he's telling me this is what's coming up. Now we're getting to see how deep this stuff is with people coming to light. And he's not wanting me to mention who's just in the news
Oh,
and
no, I
stuff.
know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're going to see connections. You're going to be able to do dot to dot to dot, connecting all of those, because they're all linked to one another. It's not like Joe over here has been doing it for 30 years and Sammy over there has been doing it for 20 years and they don't know each other. They all know each other.
Okay.
They all know each other.
All right. Do you acknowledge that there's some mental illness within this type of community, same as all communities, just hidden? I want to clarify this person says, I don't think being gay is a mental illness, of course.
Is there mental illness in the gay community?
No, I think the pederasty, pedophile community.
Of course there is. Of course there is. Eric says there has to be,
Yeah.
because someone who doesn't have some sort of mental illness would never engage in that.
Yeah. Is it treatable
Um,
or manageable?
Eric and David said, yes, it's treatable, but we're going to have to figure a different route on how to treat it. It's not just going up there and saying, I'm a pedophile and I've done this. There's more deep
Yeah.
stuff under there.
Inner child work, probably there's a bunch of stuff.
There is, and I just feel like
cognitive
when you
behavioral
say that, I
therapy.
just feel like there's more than just that. I don't know
Oh.
what it is, but there's more than just that.
Are
There's
their
just
brains wired differently? I mean, is there any
Eric says there's a
biological?
lot of chemical imbalance going on there.
Okay, what can we do to end sexual abuse of children?
Whew,
Protect them,
well,
educate
there's not a
parents,
one
educate.
fix.
Yeah. Oh,
There's not a one fix. And and Eric is just wanting me to say this. You know, sometimes these kids in the mother's womb have picked up stuff from the mother's womb while she's pregnant, and this is caused some chemical imbalance. But he's also saying it's the medication that they're giving the mothers that is creating this.
oof. What medication?
Whatever they
Is
give
it for a mental illness type medication?
no medication for when you're pregnant. And he's showing me how, and it could be the way what do you call those things, prenatal vitamins are manufactured or something.
Maybe a
That's,
carrier in it or some additive?
yes, and he's showing me this, and as he's telling me this, I just feel like this is like somehow to weaken the feminine power, the energy.
Wow.
Because if you get in there and get their kids, then that's where the mother's focus is on, is trying to get her kids.
Well,
And
that's
then her
pretty evil.
focus isn't on other stuff.
Wow. I'm probably not the rank and file members of the big pharma and stuff. It must be much deeper.
I feel like it is, and I don't know enough about I don't
Oh,
know
yeah.
anything about pregnancy, to be honest, to know what all they give women,
Yeah.
you
Oh, yeah.
know. And Eric and David both are saying this isn't something that every woman get. It's just, so it's not
Right.
like every woman pregnant today is going to have a
Okay.
yucky boy, but it's, but so yeah.
Okay, I understand that we have soul contracts because we want to learn and grow. But on the human side, pedophilia is a horrible thing to happen in the human experience. Why create hell on earth if heaven is such a wonderful place and it's all full of love? Why come here and create chaos? You don't understand all facets of love unless you experience all facets of fear, like betrayal and abuse and all that. You don't understand the concept of love. Anyway, but I'll
Well,
let Eric.
and it's about
Maybe.
expansion, because Eric says,
Yeah,
you know, look at where you are right now, how much you have expanded and grown, you know, since his transition, you know, and that really helped you. And I know for me and the stuff that I've gone through, how
yeah,
I am not the same person I was when I was 23,
yeah,
you know. And Eric says it's about expansion. And unfortunately, when things are going just great, we don't say, okay, I think it's time that I dig in and do some healing. We don't do any of that kind of work
yes,
until we're in an uncomfortable place and we're trying to find our way out so we don't hurt
yes,
anymore.
yeah. Well, that's well said. Wow. Find a way out so we don't hurt anymore. Have to hit rock bottom usually. How was your crossing over and your life review? Well, first of all, did you even believe in an afterlife before you passed?
He laughs. He said, no, how can you believe in an afterlife and behave the way he did?
Oh, so how was your crossing over? And if you had a life review, how was that?
Um, he's laughing because he's saying no. He says I was a little bit like you, and he's talking about me. And let me clarify that, because I didn't grow up in a churchy home, but I sure
Yeah.
did believe in hell.
Oh,
And I feel like that is what he's referring to. Like he felt like there was a hole that he was going to end up in. So he said his crossing over wasn't all butterflies and dragonflies and all of that. You know, I just I feel like it took some coaxing to get him over, to get him to come over, because he really was shocked that he was not coming back,
wow.
because they told him come on, and he just wasn't finished, he thought. And but he already transitioned, you know, like
Mm,
left his body. And then he was able to see how it's a finished, it's a done deal. I'm not going back in. It's like his body had no openings to go back
mm,
into.
okay.
And so he knew it was done. And then I feel like his spirit team brought him over. And I'd also get some family members, so to get some, so he was aware, like, okay, now I know where I'm going. But he
Oh,
said it felt real uncomfortable to him at first, because there's this peace, and he says that word doesn't even describe it, because it's not a word that you think about, it's a feeling.
mm,
And he says, and there's no way for any of us to have that total feeling of peace while we're here,
yeah,
because we have our human brain.
right. I think he died during an angioplasty or something, some surgical thing. But
He shows me a heart, something with a
yeah,
heart.
yeah,
Okay.
all right. So tell me about your life review.
Well, um, he said he sees where he did a lot of good. He did a lot of good, and he got things moving. He had um, people knew him. They knew he could get traction, getting things moving, and people looked up to him. And he was really he felt real good about that, because that was during a time when literally no one wanted to come out behind the closed doors, out of the closet, because it was so fearful.
Scary.
And he says there is something about being in numbers,
Yeah,
and that was something that he was good at, was
that makes sense.
gathering people, to help with this. And so he felt real good about that. I think he had an okay childhood, and he appreciated that, but he really got to see how I feel like he owed somebody money too. Like he had a debt or something, or borrowed a large sum of money or something that he didn't pay back.
I don't have to pay him now. I'm dead.
I know. And so, you get to see the unfinished business
Oh
and the
yeah.
chaos she left behind. So he says, for me, he goes, I'm going to speak for me. You really are asking, like, how can I make this right? How can I make this right? And this is when your guides, your team, start showing you how to start rectifying all of that.
Were you ever sexually abused as a child? Or abused in any way, for that matter?
I don't get as a child, but I feel like he was raped when he was like 18, 19, 20, around in that age,
Hmm.
by a man.
Okay. What past life? Oh, no, I wanted to ask something else. What was it? Do you think overall the LGBT community benefited from your existence or not?
Oh, he said they definitely benefited, because that was a time where every voice made a big difference.
Okay. But so accounting wise, you're an accountant more in the plus than in the negative side of the column.
Yes, because not everybody knew, he said, about my dark side, as you call
Yeah.
it, the shadow side. Not
Oh,
everybody knew about that,
oh,
because he says that is not a welcomed existence in the LGBTQ community.
no. Can you describe another life, past or future, doesn't make any difference, that most affected your one as David Thorstad?
He tells me he was a female in another life, and he, um, oddly enough, was like sold here and there, and
Oh,
like, and
she was in the sex slavery trade.
yeah, because
Victim.
he's
Oh,
shown me
wow.
how, like when a man was done with her, then he'd go send her to, she'd be shown around, like traded around. I
Yeah.
don't feel like she lived very long then. I feel like he says, when you live, like died around 40, but he said that
Wow.
influenced his life, and that's why he was so big about the movement and rights and doing all of that. But then, of course, he went down the wrong
Yeah.
turn right when he shouldn't
Little
have.
side alley there. Um, where was that and when was that? Like what century? Or how many?
He's showing me that that was in Europe, and it was late 1700s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you reincarnated?
Oh no.
That's too early.
He says, oh no. He's like, oh no.
Yeah, I don't know what this one means, and we can skip this if you want, because I don't know anything about it. Which karmic cycle are you in, David? Or is there a set number of cycles we go through karmically?
Well, he says, that's just how some people categorize things, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
Just like we have to label people gay, lesbian, trans, whatever, you know, it's something. So the karmic cycle he is in, he's saying is it's it's still learning about, you know, because says he is going to come back. He is going to incarnate again.
Okay.
It hasn't been decided which way he's coming, male, female, gay or trans or whatever. He says it's going to be interesting. It's going to be, you know, it's going to be fun. But it's the main thing is he says is about helping to bring light, he says, to people, bringing peace, he says. And when he says bringing peace, I feel like showing people how to find their heart, because that's where we're really not in a direction of. We're getting there, he says.
Yeah. Okay. Last question. And Erik, you can ask anything or add anything too. Any last messages to humanity?
He says, hang on, because we're in for another roller coaster ride.
Ooh.
He goes, for some of us, we like those kind of rides, so it's going to be fun because we like that kind of stuff. He says, just make sure you seatbelt yourself in. And
Are we talking about good stuff or bad stuff?
well,
There's no
he
good
says
or bad, I know, but
he says
challenging
it's all
stuff.
good. It's going to be challenging. It's all good. He says, but just know that you're comfortably seated. Your seatbelt is comfortably attached in your seat, so there's nothing for you to fear.
Okay, good. Erik, you want to add anything? Or Denise, do you want to add anything?
So Erik is asking him if he is still actively helping to bring not just for rights, but like an expansion and awareness to the LGBTQ community, you know, just so that, because even though we have rights, people still work on trying to take them out, and they're very limited. And I just want to say for the record, I could not have my name on my daughter's birth certificate because the state of Texas didn't allow at the time to have same-sex parents on a birth certificate.
Do they now?
It depends on where you go. And then
God.
It would cost $5,000 for me to re-adopt my daughter, or to adopt. So I'm on there as like a guardianship, and then my partner's on there. So it's like, yes, we have rights, but no, we don't. So, you know, we're much further ahead, but those are just little
What
things.
can it hurt?
Those are just little things. So, but, you know, Erik is asking, like, what is it that we can do to help with that? And he is saying how he says, David is saying, believe it or not, everything that's going on is to bring balance with all of this. Because the only reason why we have to have these rights for wheelchair people, people of color, people of religion and stuff, is because somebody somewhere has felt threatened by it. So they said, no, you can't come in. And then there's the Stonewall, you know, that came in, he's telling me back in the 70s, the right, you know, to have wheelchair ramps, crosswalks, and just all of these things, as women's right to vote, you know, and stuff had to come in. It's because somebody put a stop to it. And he says, and the reason why they put a stop to it was because there was a threat. A threat of feeling like they're losing their power.
Oh, God. All right. Well, David, do you have any message for your victims?
He says, and they are they're alive. He says there's quite a few
Oh,
who are
sure.
alive. That he says, um, he says apologizing is like a bucket of water with holes in it.
Mm.
It doesn't mean anything,
Yeah.
It's the actions and stuff. So he really works with helping them. This is part of his job, I
Oh,
guess you would say
good.
on
Is he
this side.
helping them heal?
They have helped them to find their road to where they can live a normal life, so to speak, rather it be through they ready to get into counseling and they got free therapy, or they get a good job because
Yeah.
or whatever. It's just helping them to
Okay. Keep doing that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But they have to make the choice to say, okay, I want this,
Of
because
course.
not all. So this is where he says, this is where, it's not like because I'm doing this and I'm the wonderful person. If they say, no, I don't want to do this, then it's like, that's one thing away from him, that like he doesn't get to expand as
Oh,
far
yeah.
as if they say, okay, I will take everything that's being
I
handed
see.
to me, then he gets to expand even more and more and more.
Sounds good. Well, I guess that's all for now. You guys, please hit the thumbs up for us, smash the notification bell, and don't miss another one. So you need to subscribe. I love you. And also, Denise's information is down below, but also it's probably already been splashed on the screen. I love you, Eric. I love you, Denise. Thank you, Mr. Torstad, for sitting through 2 interviews with us. That was very enlightening, and I wish you the best.
Says thank you. He feels very honored, and feels very fortunate that he got to speak
Hmm.
through Erik, through me, and through your channel, because he knows the work you're doing is helping to spread the light, and he feels very honored.
Oh, well, you're quite welcome. See you guys.
All right, big hugs to you. Bye.
Back.